Thank you for making time to talk to our DevFest. We are very happy to have you and very excited to learn from you. You can introduce yourself and tell us where you're speaking from.
Yeah, I'm from actually Kentucky, United States. I'm a database administrator. I have experience of 7 years on working and managing SQL Server databases and servers. So I'm a Microsoft certified trainer and Microsoft certified solution expert. I did my master's in computer technology at Eastern Illinois University in United States. So I'm learning all this about the SQL Server, and I started speaking at different conferences, and I love to talk about SQL Server. So I just went and I just submitted my session, and I am so honored to be selected for DevFest.
Thank you, Dee. We are very happy to have you, and you can proceed with your talk. Thank you.
Definitely. Let me share my screen. And one more request, like once you complete, like, can you tell me how many attendees were attending my session?
Okay. You can also see.
Yeah, it's 9 currently. So yeah. So let me share my screen right now. Georgia, can you confirm that you are able to see my screen?
Yes, I can see it.
Awesome. You can mute right now. So hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending upon the time zone you are in. Everybody is connecting from different zones, right? So welcome and thank you so much for attending my session today. And I would like to first thank Georgia and other organizers, all the organizers from DevFest for giving me this wonderful opportunity to speak for your DevFest. My name is Deepthi Gogori, and today I would like to present on the topic Understanding Statistics in SQL Server. So a little bit about me. I'm a database administrator having 7 years of experience in managing SQL Server and databases. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer and Microsoft certified solution expert. I completed my master's in Eastern Illinois University at United States. And I blog for dbanuggets.com. That's my website. And you can contact me on Twitter at dbanuggets. If you have any questions regarding this session, please do not hesitate to contact me later. So what are we going to discuss in this session today? We are going to see what are these statistics in SQL Server, how to view them actually, and what happens when they are wrong, and how to update these statistics in SQL Server. Now, statistics are really important for the query performance. They should always be updated and accurate. So let's get started. So statistics, what is it all about, right? Statistics are the blob structures which are stored in the system tables to provide the information about the distribution of the data inside a column or set of columns or an indexed view inside a table. So basically the query optimizer which actually executes the query optimizer will use and trust these statistics to determine how many rows does it think they are going to come back out of a table or out of each operator inside the execution plan that it generates. So basically this is also known as cardinality estimation, like how many rows the optimizer think is going to come back out of a table when we submit a query. So the accurate the estimates are, the optimizer will help generate the good plans to be stored inside our plan cache, basically the execution plans. So based upon these cardinality estimates, the SQL Server will decide if it have to do the clustered index scan or seek, or how much memory we need to grant for that particular query to be executed. Those kind of things are all dependent upon how our statistics are. So what could go wrong, right? Everything looks good. So before going into what could go wrong, let me describe like what happens behind the scenes when a query is submitted to the SQL Server. First, when we submit a query, for example, from the third-party application, right? When we submit a query to the SQL Server, first that query will be parsed. That means any syntactical errors are there, those kind of things are checked. And then for that, on the particular query, the parser will put a hash on it, and it will go ahead and check if there is an exact match of the execution plan already there inside our plan cache. Now, if it finds the exact match of that execution plan for that particular query, like if somebody else has already executed that query before, then it will create an execution plan automatically, right? So it will go ahead and check if there is already a execution plan in the plan cache. If it finds, then good, well and good, it will go ahead and use the same execution plan. But what if it doesn't find any execution plan? And what if we are running this query for the first time? Then it will go ahead and build the initial logical tree for the first time. And then the query will go to the transformation phase. In the transformation phase, many transformation rules are unlocked and checked. And at certain point of time, many query trees will be generated for that particular query. And for each tree, the cardinality estimation will be checked. Cardinality estimation meaning how many rows that the optimizer think it is gonna come back out of that particular table. So all the cardinality estimations are gathered for each of these equivalent trees that got generated. And on each of the tree, the cost is checked. And the lowest cost tree will be the winner. And that particular execution plan will be saved inside our plan cache. And once that query is gone to the execution phase, that particular plan cache, which has been generated based upon that cardinality estimation, will go to the execution phase. But before going into the execution phase, the memory grant for that particular query to be executed is assigned even before the execution based upon those cardinality estimates. Once it assigned, then the query will go to the execution phase. But what could go wrong here? What if our cardinality estimation is really wrong? What if the SQL optimizer thinks there will be only one row that is coming out of the table, but instead when you actually run the query, 1 million rows will come out of the table? That means the estimates are wrong here, right? The optimizer has think wrong. The estimates are wrong. So based upon that, the cost will be suspect here. Based upon those wrong cardinality estimation, the wrong query trees will be generated, and the wrong query tree will be finally saved inside our plan cache. And once that plan cache, which has been created based upon those wrong cardinality estimation, will go for the execution. And before going into the execution, the wrong memory grants are given because the optimizer think only one row is coming back, right? So the memory grant will also be given for that only one row, instead of that 1 million row that are actually coming back. So that means memory, when the query will actually go to the query execution, SQL Server doesn't have much memory, right? Because it only thought one row, but when it actually executed, it is getting million rows. So it don't know where to get that memory from. It needs more memory to sort and hash, so to sort that data, right, in our query. If, for example, I'm doing a order by or something else in our query, it don't know where to get the memory from. So it have to basically go and use the disk to spill out to the disk. It will go ahead and use our TempDB on the disk. It will spill to the disk, which will actually it will cause the performance issues when it touch the disk subsystem. So that's the reason, like, if our cardinality estimates are really accurate, then that will help the optimizer to choose the good enough execution plan to be placed in our plan cache. And then the next execution will use our updated accurate plan cache execution plan, basically. So what are the database options we have for these statistics? We have two kind of main. There are a couple of more, but in this session, as it is only for 20 minutes, I'm going to discuss the main options. First is the auto create statistics. The auto create statistics option for that database, for each and every database, we have these options. So auto create statistics on every database inside the SQL Server is automatically, by default, it is set to true. Now, why it is set to true? The SQL Server, if we are searching on a particular columns, or if we are searching as well as joining on particular columns, then if the auto update statistics is turned on, then in the background, SQL Server will go ahead and create the statistics automatically on those columns. And the next option is auto update statistics. So once this option is turned on, like by default it is turned on, when it is turned on, if the SQL Server will find the outdated statistics, right, it will automatically update those statistics on the background by itself. We don't have to do anything. So these two are the main options in the database level. So let's see how these statistics are created. Once the auto create statistics option is turned on the database properties, then the SQL Server will go ahead and automatically create the statistics whenever you search on a column or use that particular column in the join clause. Then it will go ahead and automatically create statistics on those columns. Now, why it create? Because it wanted to estimate how many number of rows that gonna come back out of that particular columns, right? Because we are using the queries and searching on those columns. And whenever you create a clustered index, non-clustered index, or an indexed view, the statistics are automatically created on those columns that we are creating the clustered and non-clustered indexes automatically. And we can also manually create the statistics. We can manually create on multiple columns as well as the single columns. So how to view these statistics, right? We can view, there is something known as views inside the SQL Server. System view, sys.stats is a system view, which we can use to view the particular statistics on a table. Like each and every statistics we can use by using sys.stat. And there is also other type of query known as dbcc source statistics. When you run this command, you can see the statistics on each column in very detail. And then for the newer versions of SQL Server, you have two different types of statistics information you can use from the dynamic management views we have in the SQL Server. That's sysdmdb stats properties, just to get the header information, sysdmdb stats histogram, just to get the histogram information. And how to update these statistics, right? When we set the auto update statistics option turned on the database level option, which is by default, what it does is there is an old threshold as well as a new threshold. For the older version of SQL Server, we have to modify 20% of the records from the SQL table, as well as 500 rows that have to be modified in order for the auto update stats to kick in. But for the new threshold, we just have to modify very few rows, the square root of 1,000 times number of rows, total number of rows we have for table, which is way below than the old threshold. Now, the new threshold is very important for the tables where you have so many modifications going on, basically the OLTP systems where our tables are so active, and we will keep updating the records very frequently. For those kind of tables, we need the new threshold. So what happens when they go wrong, right? Like we discussed before, the wrong estimates will lead to the non-optimal plan, execution plan that will be saved inside our plan cache. And whenever the frequent next executions happens for that particular query, it will go ahead and use the non-optimal plan. So if our estimates are really accurate, then that will help the optimizer to choose the good enough execution plan for our queries. And also, if our optimizer will only choose the less number of rows when compared to the actual number of rows that are coming out of the table, that means we are giving only less amount of memory to the query to be processed, but it needs more memory, right? So it will eventually spill to disk. But what happens if that thing happen in reverse? Like if the query is asking for so much memory that then it needs, then that means we are wasting so much memory, right? The memory is granted so much, but we are not using that in the actual execution phase. So we are wasting the memory. So that's the reason, if our statistics are really accurate, then the SQL optimizer will estimate the accurate number of rows that are coming back, which are nearly equal to the actual number of rows. And it will give the enough memory grants, which will actually increase the performance of the queries. And if these estimates are wrong, then the query will have the query performance issues. Now let's see the demo. I will show you the demo so that we can understand how to view these statistics. Can you view my screen, like Management Studio? Georgia, can you confirm? I hope you are seeing my screen, because I can't see the view chat.
Yes,
window.
we can. We
Thank
can see
you.
the screen.
Thank you. So for this demo, I'm using AdventureWorks 2016 database. You can find that online, and I will also provide these scripts to you. And at the end of the AdventureWorks 2016, you see that big name, because I imported 2 new tables by using the Jonathan Kahai script here from SQLskills.com. You can also grab that over there. So let me put that database in the context. And then if you wanted to see the indexes on a table, you use sp_help index. So when you see the results, you have the index name, index description, and on which columns we have the index. So mainly in this demo, we are focusing on customer ID index that we got created. When I created this index, since my auto create statistics it turned on, it went and SQL Server went and created the auto create statistics on that particular column on the customer ID with the same name as the index. I will show you that. And I can see the statistics on that particular table by using the sys.stats view. Like I said, when you go to the results, you will find the table name. First, you will see the primary key related statistics, which is automatically generated when I created the primary key. And next, you will see the non-clustered indexes. When I created the non-clustered indexes, automatically SQL Server went and created these statistics with the same name as the non-clustered indexes. But when you see here, it is a system generated. By looking at it, you can say that it is a system generated, right? The underscore WA meaning Washington State, underscore sys system generated, and underscore this 0003 is the column number of that particular table. And then this last number represents the hexadecimal value of that object ID, object meaning the table ID. So you can see the SP underscore help stats to see the statistics and on which column we have the statistics, right? These are the statistics name and on which column we have that particular statistics. So we are mainly focusing on this particular statistics, which is automatically created when I created the non-clustered index on customer ID column. So now let's see the statistics, how to view the statistics, right? By using DBCC show statistics. When I execute this particular query, when you go to the result, for every single statistics we have in the SQL Server, there are 3 parts in it: the header information, density vector, and histogram. Now, histogram is where the optimizer will go ahead and estimate how many number of rows that are coming out of that particular table or the column, right? For example, we have a customer ID column statistics here. So for the first header information, we have the name of the statistics. When was the statistics lastly updated? How many rows were there at the time of the statistics? And how many rows were sampled at the time of the update? Now, when you see the total number of rows are equal to the rows sampled, that means the statistic got updated with full scan. And the steps are 153 here. For the maximum, we have 200 steps with additional 1 step if that particular column have a null value. But here in our example, we do not have any null value for the customer ID column. And then if that particular statistics is filtered or not, unfiltered rows, whether it have or not, those kind of things are shown here. And when you come to the density vector, density shows how unique that particular values inside the column of the customer ID is. Now, how does it get calculated? 1 divided by total number of unique distinct values inside the customer ID column. That's how it gets calculated. Now, when you see the histogram, this is where the optimizer sees to get the estimates, right? The first column represents the values inside the customer ID. Now, not each and every value is declared here because we just have 200 rows, right? Not those million of rows that I have in the table. Not every single customer ID is shown here. But that's the reason we have the range rows here, right? When you come to the equal rows, there are 231 rows which have the equal number of with the customer ID of value 11,000. So for the customer ID value 11,000, we have equal number of rows as 231 rows. And for customer ID of 11,019, we have equal rows of 1,309. So that's the equal rows. Now, when you come to the range rows, what if we want the value in between 11,000 and 11,019? So the values we have from the 11,000 and 11,019, we have the total number of rows as 3,619. And to find the distinct rows, in between these two values, we have the distinct values of 18, right? 11,000 to 11,019, we have distinct values of 18. Now, average range rows, when you divide the range rows, the total number of rows in between these two values, 3,619 divided by 18, we get 201 rows like that for every single value. So optimizer will see this particular histogram to get the estimates. Now, let's go ahead and now even this DMVs, I told the later version of SQL Server, will also give the same histogram information. One gives the header information and the other gives the histogram information. Now, I wanted to go and do a select on a particular with a where clause on a particular customer ID of value 11,091. Now, when you see the histogram that we just run, 11,091 value of customer ID have exact equal rows of 2,156. Now let's see how the SQL Server will estimate this value, right? When I execute this by enabling the execution plan, that means it will show me the execution plan for our view. Now when I see this, did you see here the estimated number of rows are 2,156. The actual number of rows that have come out of this table is 2,156. When you see the results, you have here 2,156 rows, which is exact match, right? The 100% accuracy, because 11,091 is the unique value in our histogram. But what if I do a search on a customer ID which is not mentioned in the histogram, right? When you check the histogram here, 11,225 value is in between these two rows, right? Now what it does is it will go ahead and do the average range rows. Like between these two, we have these many rows. So it will divide this value with the distinct number of rows and get the 263.5 value, the average range rows. Now when you run this and see the execution plan, in the execution plan, you will see the estimated number of rows 263.5, right? And the actual number of rows are 154. It is closer, right? The 263.5 came from that particular average range rows, because it don't know how many exact values are there for this particular value here. So it will go ahead and get from the average range rows. Now what if I use a local variable, right? I will declare a local variable. I'll set that local variable and I will do a search on that local variable. Now when I execute that and go to the execution plan, it will show a different value here, 126.7, but the actual number of rows are 2,156. Now why is that? Where does that value get from? Let's see. So whenever you use the local variable, the estimate always go to the density vector. Now when you see the histogram one more time, here we have the density value, right? It will go ahead and multiply this density value with the total number of values to give that estimate. Now when I multiply that total number of values with the density vector, we'll get the same exact value, 126.7. That's where it is getting from. Now what if I use a non-equality column? We just did the equality here, right? But what if I use a non-equality here with customer ID less than something, right? When I execute that, now my execution plan is completely different, right? It shows different. Now when you go ahead and see here, the estimated number of rows are 726,000, but the actual number of rows are just 19400. Now why is that way too different, right? Let's see. Whenever you use the inequality, then SQL Server will always get the value out of 30%. It will just multiply the total number of rows by 30%. And when you see this, when you multiply, it got the same exact number of rows, 726,000, right? Now, what if I create a store procedure? Because we all use the store procedures, right? What if I use the store procedure? I just created the store procedure. And for the first time, when I execute that store procedure, on the background, SQL Server will generate the execution plan for the first time, right? So first time I'm executing with this particular value and execute. So it went ahead and created the execution plan for the first time. And as this value is very unique, it got the estimated number of rows 77 and the actual number of rows 77, because this particular value which I used is actually represented in the histogram with the equal number of rows, right? But what if I execute on the second time the same store procedure, right? But now it went, sorry, I don't know what has happened. Let me execute that. This time it got a different value, but it should not create that. Now let me create this for the first time. It went and created the 77 and it stored that in the plan cache. But when I execute the same store procedure one more time, it should go ahead and now it should go ahead and use the same execution plan, right? It did not use the new execution plan. So the estimated number of rows are way too different from the actuals. Now, why is that? Because this particular execution plan, when I first executed, once I created a store procedure, it went and created the execution plan with that particular value. Firstly, I generated. So the next executions with a different variable values, it go ahead and use the same execution plan. Now, this will create a problem if your non-optimal query plan is stored inside our plan cache with a low number of estimated rows. Like for that particular variable, we just got 77 rows. But what if we have a different variable which will give us the 2 million rows, right? That depends upon the SKU. So we should always make sure that the optimal plan is going to be stored inside our plan cache. Now, what if I declared a person ID, a different variable, and then declare the customer ID, and then set that customer ID and use the customer ID in the select statement? What if I go ahead and create that particular store procedure and go ahead and create that and go ahead and execute that for the first time? Now, when you go to the execution plan, now the estimated number of rows are 126 here. That means, did you observe it went to the density vector value again? But the actual number of rows are 308 here. Now, why is that? Because whenever we declared something else, right? We declared something else. So SQL Optimizer doesn't know what the customer ID value is during the optimization phase. So it doesn't know where to get the estimate from. That's the reason it will go ahead and get the estimate from the density vector value. Now, let me do a date range values, right? I'm now joining the sales order header table with a different table. And then I'm getting with a where clause with a date value, a date range of 1 month. This is a 1 month date range. And then let's do with a 8 month date range, right? 2 queries we run and we see the execution plans. Now we got the similar plans here, but for the long, did you see there is a different execution plan here? That is because we have a larger amount of data for this bigger table, right? For a bigger table, we have a large amount of data which has caused and lead into the sorts and hashes here. So that is normal. But what if let's go and see the row and page count for that particular table. How many rows are there and what is the old threshold and the new threshold? Like, did you see here the total number of rows we have for this table is 2.4 million. Now, what if I go and trick the optimizer saying we do not have 2.4 million rows, we just have 1 million rows? What if I do that? That means it just thinks there is only 1 million rows and it will get the wrong estimates, right? Let's manually create that, that kind of thing. Like I will go ahead and update the statistics saying my row count is just 1 million. It's not 2.4 million anymore. I did that. And if I go ahead and update and run the same 2 statements with 1 month date range and 12 month date range, when I execute that particular query and go to the execution phase, it's taking some time right now because we have a wrong estimate now. Now, did you see the plan looks the same, but when you go to the amount of estimated number of rows, the estimation number of rows are just 19 to 1925. It should create more. Like in our previous, I did not show you how many estimated rows, but it bought so many rows for this 1 month. But actual number of rows are 5066. That's okay for 1 month date range. But for the 12 month date range, if you see here, they will be 2 different. The estimated number of rows are 43,000, but when you see the actual number of rows, 105,000. It's more than half, right? Now, why that? Because we tricked the optimizer saying we just have 1 million rows. And when you see that, it has gone to the hashes and sorts, which is normal. But did you see here, there is an exclamatory mark here showing that it actually have spilled to disk. How many pages? These many pages, 1,500 approximately pages has spilled to disk. Now, why is that? I have tricked the optimizer not only by saying it, there are only 1 million rows, which I have influenced the optimizer saying to bring the wrong estimates. Not only that, but that wrong estimate has influenced the optimizer to go ahead and grant only some amount of memory grant for that particular query based upon those 1 million rows. It just gave some memory based upon that million rows. But when it actually run, it need more memory, right? Because it is getting more amount of data, like more than 1 million rows. So you don't know where to get the memory from. So it has to actually spill to disk. And that is exactly shown here with the exclamation mark. And when you go ahead and check, it gives a warning saying it has actually spilled to disk. Now that is the reason I want to show an example of you what will happen when the estimates go wrong, right? And I can clear that up by using DBCC update usage. Like I tricked the optimizer by saying only 1 million rows are coming out, right? When I execute this, it will go ahead and convert that 1 million rows into my actual 2.4 million rows to correct it. So let me, this is how we view the statistics. And this is what will happen when the optimizer estimate the wrong estimates. It will definitely affect the performance of the query because it is spilling to disk. Whenever it's spilled to disk, that means more amount of resources are needed, and that will screw up the entire performance of the query. So that's the reason we have to make sure our statistics are up to date. Let me hop back into my slides. So what we have gone through in this session is we have gone through how to view the statistics, what are the statistics and how important are they for the query performances, what happens when they go wrong. When they go wrong, then the performance will be screwed. When they are correct, then it will help the optimizer to choose the optimal plan to be saved inside the plan cache such that the next executions of the same query will get the good estimates, which will eventually improve the performance of the queries. Now, we have also seen how to update these statistics. We can automatically update these statistics by turning on the auto update statistics turned on. With the new threshold, it is very useful for using the new threshold. The SQL servers, the latest version will automatically use the latest threshold. And latest threshold is very useful for the OLTP systems, which we have the larger amount of data with more amount of modifications going on our tables. And these are my resources from the Microsoft as well as the SQL skills I followed to prepare this presentation. If you want to know more in detail, please go ahead and look into these resources. And I would like to thank you so much. I don't know if I run out of my time or if I did it early, but I would like to give a big shout out to all the organizers, and I would like to thank each and every attendee and moderators to moderating my session. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dee. We're very happy to have you. We learned so much from you. We hope to connect with you next time. And just for the sake of questions, I can ask if anyone has questions. I think there are questions in the chat box. I don't know if you saw them.
But I cannot hear because I'm hearing multiple voices at the same time.
Not only on the browser and mobile sites, also in virtual environments, let's say the JVM, the Node runtime, and even the Dell VM. Kotlin can compile code to JavaScript.
Yeah, actually, it cleared out now. So if you have any questions, can you please let me know?
So there are questions, if you can see them. There are questions in the chat box.
Okay, let me go ahead and look into my chat box. Hi. Does every SQL server automatically come with the installed optimizer? Yes, of course. I have used the MySQL on Linux servers for my website, and I'm curious if the flow you explained was happening every time I wrote my queries. I do not know about MySQL, but MySQL is a relational database, but I do not know how MySQL optimizer works. But if you install the SQL server, optimizer is automatically be installed automatically, and when you turn these options on the database levels, then statistics get automatically created and updated automatically on the background. Does update statistics on a table rebuild the index? No, actually it is in reverse. Whenever you rebuild the index, then the statistics are automatically updated. index statistics, index columns only gets updated. Again, the column statistics are not updated. You have to manually update your column statistics by using the maintenance plans. But whenever you rebuild the index, you are going to update the index statistics by 100% with full scan. I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, I don't know if there is anyone else who has another more questions. I just want to thank you. How do you pronounce your name?
Deepti?
Deepti.
Yes.
Can you repeat that?
Deepti?
Deepti.
Deep.
Okay, I'll just call you D.
Yeah, that would be that would be yeah.
Okay.
Deepti, yeah. You know, deep.
So thank you so much, Deep.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much, Deepti. We are very happy to have you, and thank you for taking time to have session on our DevFest. We hope to interact with you in other more events, and we can connect even after this event. We can just like thank you very much all the way from
so much, Georgia.
USA. You're welcome. Thank you very much. We are very happy to. Yeah, this was very insightful. And after all these sessions will be recorded, so we upload them on YouTube so that more viewers can keep looking at them and learning.
Awesome. I'm completely fine with that, and I'm really honored to speak for the DevFest. This is my first one, so I hope I will be coming more.
We are very happy
for more of this. Thank you so much.
Thank you too. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Georgia.
And thank you for coming to Tanzania virtually.
Yay! I love it. I love all of you guys.
Thank you. So I'll end this session now.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay.